Hey, it's Chris here and welcome to the first vlog of 2025. Now, in 2024, we launched 2 apps into the App Store, and I think we made a big mistake on both of them that makes it really hard to make any money with these apps. So let me set the stage first. The first app we released is the Emotion Tracker. So this one is a pretty basic mood logger. It's got some pretty basic features, but this app took us about a year in development. So that's a really long time. It took this long because we didn't prioritize the app. The problem with it after we launched is that we didn't follow up with the marketing and the updates and continuing to work on the app. An app is like a business. Launching the app into the App Store and having it go live is like your grand opening for your business. But if you don't show up the next day and the day after that and continue putting work into the business, continuing marketing for your business, how is your business going to get a new stream of customers to build that word of mouth marketing? You can't. With the Emotion Tracker, essentially we viewed the launch as the big thing. Then after that, we didn't sustain the efforts. It's been so long, I don't even 100% remember why I chose that app idea to build. But I think at the time, I felt like it would be low-hanging fruit to build a whole suite of sort of health and wellness apps and have them work together and then use AI to recognize patterns and analyze them, all the things that you were logging, such as sleep and fitness. So the vision was really big. It was too big. We couldn't sustain the effort to even see a fraction of that vision come true. I think that we bit off more than we can chew. Now, the second app, A Better Day, was a lot more simple. And this was actually for a hackathon. This app was built in a week, less than that even. So it's on the other end of the spectrum. And this app was built, as I said, for the hackathon, but it wasn't necessarily to make money. And that's why there was not too much deliberate thought given to the type of app it was, what keywords we would target, who would be the intended audience for this, how we would make money. None of that. It's just that I needed to finish this app so that I can be eligible for the hackathon and complete the hackathon. And funny enough, these 2 apps are actually having daily users. And I know that because I installed Telemetry Deck on it, which is an analytics suite that you can use for free. And then you get a weekly email telling you how many daily users you have and how that changed from the previous week. So that is really helpful. So I would recommend you do that with your next app. Also for that second app, which we built for the hackathon, we had to put a paywall on it as part of the eligibility for the hackathon. And so I arbitrarily chose a feature in that app, which was reminders, locked it behind a paywall, charged a one-time 99 cents for it. And we did make a couple of sales off of that. It was really cool, proving the concept of launching the app, getting into users' hands, making sales, getting money. That itself was really rewarding. Okay, so now in 2025, I'm about to start this journey all over again. But this time I've learned the lessons from those 2 apps, and I am going to be more deliberate about my strategy. There are 2 different approaches. Let's talk about the quicker results approach first. And this would be to build apps based on low competition keywords that have decent search volume, which means that if you build an app to satisfy that search query or keyword, it would easily rank in the App Store because there are not too many apps competing. The problem with this is that you may not particularly be interested in that type of app, but this strategy works as proven by Adam Lytle. Shout out to his channel. I'll link to it below. He shared this video called his 10K a month 2025 strategy, which is 6 minutes, but it's very concise. And I would recommend you watch that because he outlines this entire process of finding low competition keywords and building apps around them and then monetizing them. So I think that's a great strategy. Some benefits of that, these tend to be smaller apps because these keywords are more niche keywords. It's not going to be things like calorie tracker or fitness tracker. These are big markets with a lot of competing apps. In the example that he used in his video, pesos to dollar conversion, a very specific result that people are looking for when they search for that. So as a result, the app, it's going to satisfy that. It's not going to be a big app that you have to build to satisfy that. And then you can put a paywall on it. And because there's low competition, you're going to get downloads and users easily. And then you rinse and repeat and you build a whole portfolio of these smaller apps. Because you have these smaller apps, it's easier to sell off some of them when you want. And maybe you can choose which smaller ones you want to grow bigger. I like this strategy in that way because you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You're spreading them out, and then you can see which are the winners out of those ideas and then invest more time and effort into that. It allows you to build more apps, which is great practice for someone who's just starting to get into the game. It's lower risk as soon as you launch it. As long as your app store optimization strategy is sound and you're targeting specifically that keyword, then you should be able to rank for it. The other approach, which is a longer term strategy, is to break into a bigger market which has more users. So something like a fitness tracker. And I keep coming back to this idea because it's something that I want to do myself. It's just that with a bigger market comes more competition. The app that you have to build will most likely be a bigger app, and it might take you a lot longer to develop just to build enough features to get to parity with the apps that are already out there. So if you think about it from a user's perspective, why would they choose your brand new app, which may only have 80% of the features of all the other apps out there? To them, they're spending the same amount of time. Most of these apps are freemium with an ability to upgrade. With these bigger apps, typically you're going to have to come at it with a unique angle that's a little bit different than all the other apps out there so you can stand out. For example, if it's a fitness tracker, I know not all of the fitness workout trackers out there have AI capabilities right now. Maybe in time they will, but for right now, that might be an angle that can make your app stand out a little bit more. Also, with these bigger markets, these more competitive markets, you're going to have to do a lot of marketing and advertising and really just advocating for your app after it launches. So it's like a real business. If you're going to start a coffee shop, let's say, and where you live has a lot of coffee shops, it's going to take you a lot more effort to get seen and to attract those customers, take them away from the other coffee shops to come to your coffee shop, right? Versus if you're the only, let's say, sushi restaurant in town, then you don't have to do that much work for people to come to your restaurant for sushi. So for these bigger apps, these more competitive markets, I feel like you really have to choose something that you're personally interested in, something that you will use. If it's a topic that you're passionate about, then you're going to be able to advocate for your app and you're going to get that market research so that you can improve your app. So for me, building that emotion tracker, it's not like logging my mood and emotions. I think it's something I wanted to do, but not necessarily something I was doing already. That perhaps wasn't the best decision for an app idea. Okay, so out of these two strategies, the low competition keyword one versus the big app, bigger market one, which one am I going to pursue next? And my answer to that is both. Let me explain why. So with the lower competition keyword one where you're building smaller apps, I like that to start because it allows you to get more practice in, more reps, if you will. So my concern with this strategy is that your app will only be getting downloads and users because it ranks on the first page in the App Store. And that's only because there's not that much competition, not because your app is actually a big brand or anything like that. And as soon as Apple changes the way it decides how to rank the apps, your apps may not appear on the first page anymore. So this strategy may not work. So if you're basing all of these apps, like a whole portfolio of them, on this single strategy, you could get wiped out as soon as Apple changes its algorithm. Something similar happened with Google, and I watched it happen. So I've been in the SEO game for a while, building websites and stuff. And back then there was a period where you could target long tail, low competition keywords using exact match domains. So if it was something like small, round, curly, red widgets that someone was searching for, and you registered that exact phrase .com, there was a high chance that your website would rank on page number 1 pretty well, pretty up there. And so people did this in volume because long tail keywords usually have low search volume, but you can make up for it in quantity, just like what we talked about with the whole portfolio of apps. So they were building thin content pages to target these long tail keywords. Because there wasn't a lot of competition, their content would rank on the first page. And they wouldn't put a lot of effort into this content. So it would often be low quality, not that valuable content. Now, I'm not saying that when you build the small apps, that small apps are not valuable. I'm just saying that this is what happened with Google. So Google didn't like that people were gaming the system like this. And so it changed its algorithm, penalized those sites that were taking advantage of this, and a lot of webmasters lost a lot of traffic overnight. Versus if you build a bigger website, a more authoritative website, you are building a brand, and that takes time, right? Building a brand takes time and energy and effort. But if you're successful in building a big brand, it becomes harder to disrupt. So you have more staying power, and your revenue, your customers, your everything will be more stable, but that takes more time to build. So what I want to do is I want to take the lower competition keyword, smaller app strategy first, to get reps under the belt, to get some quick wins. And I think seeing dollars come in will be very motivating, and then build a longer term play, a bigger app in a bigger market as a side thing, and then transition as that brand bigger app grows. That's my strategy, right? So I'm going to start now following Adam Lytle's video by finding low competition, decent search volume keywords to build smaller apps around. And I'm going to document that journey here in this vlog so that you can follow along and watch this strategy play out. And in the meantime, I'll also be thinking about and building at a slower pace the longer term play, which I still haven't decided exactly what yet, but I do like my fitness tracker. It's something that I use all the time. I'm using Strong app right now for logging workouts and things like that. Maybe we could build our own. So it'll be a lot of fun, I think. But it's a bigger market. It's a more crowded market. So it's not that easy to break into. So in the next vlog, I want to share with you my keyword research for these lower competition, decent search volume keywords and how to use Astro to find them. And then we'll go from there. So I hope you follow along. In the meantime, check out this video where I outline the whole indie app process for a bigger, longer term app play and how you would go about growing that app.